The spooking would commence in several seconds, but not too long. All right, we are beginning in 30, 29, 28, 27. Yeah, that's way too long of a countdown. We're just going to get started, well, soon, because hold on, let me see here if am I even ready? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Let me see. All right, almost ready. Let me get out of here and grab my drink.
Did you just see him pick his ass?
Yeah, but you gotta keep your voice down.
I'm just saying, it's very disgusting.
He might hear us.
What?
He might hear
Oh,
us.
I don't give a
Shh,
fuck.
here we go. All right, let's get shit started. Oh,
Hi.
hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Welcome to another spooky episode of PopCorn Poppin Live, where your weekly movie, TV, and streaming guide is upon us. There's too much spooky content in the world, and you can't be wasting your time trying to figure out what's scurry. Let me waste my time for you and scream at all that is scary, whilst letting you know what's spookin' and what ain't. Did you guys hear whispering before I came in here a little bit ago? Because maybe I just sound crazy. Never mind. So thank you for joining the show. We have a lot to go over, so let's get started with some honorable mentions of things that came out this week that I did not have a chance to see, that you may have had a chance to see, or that you might want to go see, like The Front Room starring Brandy, where I forecasted low expectations that were going to be met, and I decided not to go to the theaters. Everything goes to hell for newly pregnant Belinda after her mother-in-law moves in and tries to get her claws on the child. It's in theaters right now. I read it's not that great. Also is Power Book 2, Ghost, which is on Stars. I watched Power. I haven't continued after book 1. So I would watch the new episodes of this, but there's like 3 TV shows I have to watch. So before I get into that whole universe, I have some other things to watch first. I hear it's good, but I hear it's also good as well that this book is ending in particular. Here are some things that I'm watching right now that you could watch as well. Only Murders in the Building, which is on Hulu Tuesdays. I'm digging this new season, guys. I'm digging it. It is definitely way better than last season. You can catch up on the whole series on Hulu right now. Terminator Zero, I haven't continued. I might have to delete that. Chaos, I finished. Poppin' or not overall. I'm going to say poppin' overall. I don't know if I recommend it to everybody, only because the end didn't really, it wasn't very satisfying. It was just a tee up for the next season, which sure, I guess I'll watch the next season. But once they reveal everything that's going on, like what the water does that he's always protective of, I forgot what they call it, but you see him drinking this water all the time. You see him freaking out. You see prophecies being foretold. And once those prophecies are foretold and succeeded, it's kind of like, oh, all right, but what's going to happen now? Well, you got to wait till next season. Like, chaos didn't even reign yet. But that's okay. Horror's Greatest, I did not start yet. I've been very busy. But I am getting Shudder like tomorrow or the day after. Basically, I'm waiting to watch something that's on Shudder first before I start my subscription. But I'm very excited to watch this. Embark on a thrilling journey through the genre's best with insights from the masterminds behind your favorite scares. New episodes are on Shudder Tuesday. You can get Shudder through AMC Plus. English Teacher, I sincerely like a lot. I think it's very well written, very well edited. The comedy is just joke on joke on joke with really good acting. Look at me messing with my hair. Very, very good, though. It's basically, think of an English teacher in 2024 dealing with today's society being, good. Jeez, that was really bad. Dealing with like wokeness and political correctness as opposed to English correctness. It's a good show. I dig it. It's very funny. Check it out on Hulu Tuesdays. Airs on FXX Mondays or FX. I don't even know if FXX is a real thing anymore. Bad Monkey, which is on Apple TV Plus Wednesdays, which is basically a mystery comedy starring Vince Vaughn. It's all right so far. I haven't gone back to it. I shall. Industry, I still dig this show, even though I barely know what they're talking about. It's, if you know stocks and shit, then this show is for you. Really good relationships, and even though no one is likable on the series, it is compelling, to say the least. You can check this out on Max Sundays. Lady in the White Lake, I haven't gone back to. But let's talk about things that we haven't talked about before, like Slow Horses. The new season has started. It is among us right now. You can check this out on Apple TV Plus. This is their 4th season. The first season is probably my favorite, but the series gets like kind of crazier and crazier. I just like that the first season, most of it takes place in one night, and the rest of the season's not so much, but still excellent series. It follows a dysfunctional team of MI5 agents and their obnoxious boss as they navigate the espionage world's smoke and mirrors to defend England from sinister forces. Basically, they're the shitty agency that all the agents get sent to. If you did a bad, then they tell you bad. You get fired, or you go to Slough House. And they decide to go to Slough House, which means you don't do anything. It's basically a purgatory for MI5 agents that are bad. It is a sincerely funny show that is show run by Will Smith, not that Will Smith. Will Smith is a British writer that worked on Armando and Iannucci's stuff like Avenue 5, Veep, The Thick of It, all those great British comedies. He's an excellent writer, and these are based on a series of novels as well, if you're interested. I haven't read any of them because I'm not a reader. I can barely read what's written here. Yet, I need to tell you, you got to watch this show. This new season is setting up very nicely. They try to make you think that one of the stars is dead, and it's like, no, they ain't. I don't believe it. But Gary Oldman is Gary Oldman, the best actor, basically maybe the best actor that ever lived or is living right now. He's so great in it. I'm telling you guys, you got to watch it. It's so good. If you are going to take my advice and watch it, get like 4 episodes in. I know you hate when people tell you, you got to watch the first 2 seasons and then it gets better. So you want me to sacrifice 20 hours of my time? No, I'm asking you to sacrifice 3 hours of your time and then you'll get into the show. I guarantee it. Check it out on Apple TV Plus right now. Fight Night, $1 Million Heist. So this stars Kevin Hart, Taraji P. Henson, Samuel L. Jackson, Don Cheadle, which was the real reason why I wanted to watch this show. I like Don Cheadle a lot, and Terrence Howard, and Taraji P. Henson. I really love Taraji. I didn't know she was in it, but now that I know, and I decided to watch it, I forecasted this as being disappointing. It follows the return to boxing. It follows Muhammad Ali's return to boxing after dodging the draft. and how he beat Jerry Quarry. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And later that night, hundreds are robbed at his after party in a massive armed robbery. This after party is put together by Kevin Hart's Chicken Man character, along with Taraji P. Henson. So Samuel L. Jackson basically plays a gangster that runs, I want to say, New York City. Terrence Howard is like his right-hand man, I believe. And Don Cheadle is working security for Muhammad Ali, who I believe is going to look into the investigation of the robbery later on in the series. The first 3 episodes are out on Peacock right now. Again, I foretold this being a bad show. 15 minutes in, I'm like, man, this show's really good. I was genuinely surprised, which is a good thing. It surpassed my expectations. I'm down for the rest of the show. I think the second half of the series wasn't as great as the first half because they started to follow into tropes a little bit. But I must give my flowers to Kevin Hart. Good shit, Kevin Hart. You're a good actor, man. You're funny in this, but you're not like, look at me. I am the little guy and I'm making jokes. No, you're doing like regular funny shit. You are taking on kind of a more serious comedic role, and I think you're doing a well job at it. Taraji's Taraji. I fucking love Taraji. Don Cheadle's the shit. I love him. And I feel like there's someone else. So 15 minutes in, I'm like, man, this is a really good show. And I like the zooms. And wait a minute, I'm liking technical stuff about this. I didn't think the show would have so many good technical shits. So I decided to look up who directed it. Craig Brewer, who is the blackest white director in Hollywood. He did Hustle and Flow, hence Terrence Howard and Taraji P. Henson. He did Black Snake Moan. He also did Footloose, the new movie. And I know I'm forgetting something else, but I can't think of it right now. But fantastic. Oh, he did Coming to America, but he also did Dolomite Is My Name, or just Dolomite, the new one with Eddie Murphy. He's an excellent director who does really good at black stories. I'm just very surprised. Maybe he grew up in a black neighborhood. I don't know. But Fight Night, the $1 Million Heist, is worth checking out. I'm going to say Poppin. I've only watched the first episode, but I do recommend everyone else to give it a shot because it is a little better than you may think. This is on Peacock right now. The first 3 episodes are on, and new episodes will stream on Peacock weekly. The new movie that I checked out that's streaming is, I did not watch, what's this called? Hold on. I forgot to re-edit this. So this is actually supposed to be in the honorable mentions because I watched 6 minutes of this and I shut it off. I don't like it. It's called The Perfect Couple. It's on Netflix. The forecast was more interesting than expected. It is not interesting to me. I love Liev Schreiber and Nicole Kidman, but until someone else tells me, no, this show is really good, I don't dig it. It is a mystery. Basically, a wedding is about to happen and someone turns up dead. So it's a whodunit, but I don't like it. I don't think it's very well made. It is directed by Suzanne Bier, who did, I want to say she did Brothers. I'm not positive, but you can check it out and be the judge for yourself. The whole season or series, I guess it's a mini series, is on Netflix right now. All right, Rebel Ridge, the new movie that I was extremely excited about because it was directed by Jeremy Saulnier, who I'm probably butchering his name. He did Blue Ruin and The Green Room. The Green Room, I cannot recommend enough. Pretty good horror movie, honestly, but it's more of a suspense film about a punk rock band who's forced to fight for survival after witnessing a murder at a neo-Nazi skinhead bar. You can rent it right now. It stars Patrick Stewart and the late, great Anton Yelchin, along with Emma Jean Poots, who's a very good actress, very underrated. Anyways, it's that director. Blue Ruin is a slow burn. I'm not even going to talk about that. It is a very well-made film. If you like independent slow burns, check that out. And he also did Murder Party, which I checked out yesterday because, hey, it's a horror movie. I love this director. I never checked out his first film. Don't recommend it necessarily, but it is fun, and it is a horror comedy, which we'll get into later. Yet, we're talking about Rebel Ridge, way further into his career, which he just came out on Netflix. It's about a former Marine who confronts corruption in a small town when local law enforcement unjustly seizes the bag of cash he needs to post his cousin's bail. Excellent plot, great beginning. The first 20, 30 minutes are fucking outstanding. The main actor who I actually have to... Oh, no! Well, I guess I'm not on Instagram anymore. The main actor who is... I've only seen him in Old, the M. Night Shyamalan film, and no, not Malcolm X. Does he play Malcolm X? Hold on. Stand by. Sorry, fellas, ladies, and thems. Okay, the guy's name's Aaron Pierre. I want to say he plays Malcolm X. Okay. So he played Malcolm X in Genius. He was in a film called Foe and Brother. Brother, I hear, is good. It looks all right. He was also in the Underground Railroad TV miniseries. Anyways, he's really good in this. I ain't gonna lie. Very good leading man, excellent at movement. This movie is great specifically for the movements and the cinematography and the pacing and the discovery and the point of view when it's from his point of view. When they deviate away to other characters, that's where the movie kind of loses me. The opening's great. He's riding his bike. A cop pulls up behind him with the lights on, and he's trying to pull him over. And he hits the back of his bike and he kind of crashes and he gets arrested. Excellent opening. So smooth. It's one of the smoothest films you'll ever see. Don Johnson, excellent villain, playing the police chief of this small town who's just a fucking asshole. So, my forecast was great. Poppin' or not. I'm still going to say poppin', but I'm not going to recommend it to anyone. Because it is kind of boring after a while. There's a lot of dialogue, a lot of buildup. You know this guy's a badass, and all you want to see him do is badass Suri, Bob. But you don't get to see that, sadly. You really just see him building, and it's a slow burn. I don't mind it being a slow burn, and I don't need a bunch of action. But for how much they build up this protagonist, I was expecting a lot more action. And again, I don't need that much, but I don't think he kills one person in this movie. I don't think so. I'm not saying murder is the only way I'm going to like a movie. It helps. Yet, it's so much buildup for this guy, and he never does it. And it kind of drives me nuts. The chick in this, I'm not going to look it up, but she's pretty good. I'm not familiar with her. But I will say it's popping. What size popcorn would I give it? So Slow Horses, large with butter. One of my favorite shows. This movie, compared to Green Room, it's definitely, I'm going to say it's third, then Blue Ruin, then this. But this is so fucking well made and so well directed. If you're a filmmaker, check out this movie on Netflix right now. However, in general, I'm going to give it a medium popcorn. I want to give it with butter because of how well directed it is. And the writing is okay. It's just, it's too much like, we got to figure out this mystery. We got to figure out what's going on. And it's like, I just want to see you like fuck some racist sheriffs up. Just do that, man. Yet, enjoyable. It's just you kind of get lost in the sauce. All right. That was Rebel Ridge. Now on to our main event. Beetlejuice. And then we'll go right into, come on. What's going on? No, this isn't working. My timer isn't working, guys. Trust me, you want it to work. Oh, no. What's going on? Oh, here we go. It was on the off switch. I didn't even know that was a thing. So we're going to do 20 minutes, including Beetlejuice and the main event. All right, here we go. Beetlejuice in theaters right now. The forecast was... Do I have the forecast here? Better than expected, but not as good as the first. All right, so I don't need to tell you what this movie's about, except it takes place years later. The dad is not in it, and that is because in real life, the dad was into... The actor was into kiddie porn. So they're like, let's not have them in this movie, but let's showcase the character as much as we could. First red flag, because it was strange. I was like, you might as well have him in the movie. You have his character in it so much. It's very unneeded. They should have alluded more to Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin's character more than the dad in this. He wasn't that important to me. Catherine O'Hara knocked it out of the park. Winona Ryder, just fine. Jenna Ortega, doing Jenna Ortega things. Michael Keaton, a little more difficult to understand in this movie, but still very funny. Poppin' or not, I'm gonna say Poppin'. With some, do I recommend it? I don't necessarily recommend it, because it is not better than expected. I laughed harder than expected. There are several scenes in this movie that I cracked up hard laughing at. If you've seen the movie, the baby scene, I cracked up hard as fuck. When they're first in the model, when they first say Beetlejuice 3 times. I won't say it 3 times, don't worry. That part, Willem Dafoe's character is so stupid, but every time he's brought a coffee, I love it. I love that so much. The extra characters that we have in this are really, really fun. The film itself is cranked to 11. It's one of the most ridiculous movies you've ever seen. The first one is more of a morbid comedy where you're like, whoa, this is weird. So I rewatched the first one too. When they're trying to scare the family out of the house, there's a part where they open up the closet door, and Gina Davis is hanging. Already morbid. She pulls off her face. Crazy. You got the chick that runs the recently deceased, I almost said fan club down wherever in purgatory or whatever. She has a slit throat. Every time she smokes, there's smoke coming out of her throat. You have Alec Baldwin cutting his head off and his body running away and shit. Lot of morbid, like really dark, crazy comedy. Very, very dark in color as well. Not black, of course. That would be asking too much. They blacken it up a little bit in this. They could have done it a little bit more. But Soul Train, best part of the movie, in my opinion, for this film. So all of that morbid comedy is not in this. There is morbid comedy in this, but it's done bright and fun. The movie is very fun. But it's like fun. And it's like, all right, man, I did come to see a different movie. Tim Burton, Alice in Wonderland's this mixed with his darkness that he used to do. One reason I couldn't sit through Alice in Wonderland or the new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the look that he goes for now is not a look that I dig too much. Not to say I think he's a poor filmmaker nowadays. I just don't vibe with it as much as other people do with his contemporary work as opposed to the work that he did in the 90s, like Edward Scissorhands or the original Beetlejuice. Having said that, the movie's fun, and I did crack up. It was completely unneeded, and that's really about it, guys. Did they overdo certain tropes, like things that we've seen from the first movie? I'm going to say no. They overdid the Bobs. My mom loved that. She loved the Bobs. And I liked the Bobs a lot. I didn't have a problem with the Bobs. But if there's one thing I noticed about the Bobs is it's like they figured out, oh, Bob's like a minion from Despicable Me. Let's make a bunch of them and we'll make them all wear yellow. Once you know that, you'll not be able to unsee it. I'll let you know that. Best parts of the movie. Catherine O'Hara, the babies. The twist was really good. There's a twist with Jenna Ortega's character that got me. I thought that was dope. Monica Bellucci's character, the best, most interesting character of the movie. But the biggest negative of this film is the third act, specifically because they barely they just sweep storylines under the rug. There is a villain in Jenna Ortega's character's plot that is literally dropped through the ground and never to be seen again. It wasn't like really much conflict after a certain point. There is Monica Bellucci's character, who's built up really well, that features a cameo in Tim Burton's movies that is basically him playing, I don't want to give it away. I won't give it away, but when you see this character, you're going to recognize him from a television show, and you're going to be like, he's playing that character, except he's blue, and even though he drools a lot, now he's drooling green. That introduction scene was fucking excellent for Monica Bellucci's character, who plays Beetlejuice's ex-wife, by the way. Yet, when she finally catches up to Beetlejuice, that's cleaned up quick, and I hated that. There is a dancing scene, of course. The dancing scene, even though it looked nice, it was on for way too long. Every time they did like the singing of a famous song, I was angry and upset because Beetlejuice was performing it. He was making it happen. But if you remember in the first movie, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's character did it. So continuity, fellas. That's just the nerd in me. So, poppin' or not, it is poppin'. I don't recommend it, even though it's fun. I'm not going to say you're going to have a bad time. You're just going to walk out of that movie being like, whoa, that was wild as hell. So, fun. I guess it deserves the money it got. It's a cash grab, but they fired on all cylinders, just maybe too many cylinders, because it's like watching 3 different movies for a very long time, and then they delete 2 of the movies very quickly, which pisses me off so much because of Monica Bellucci's character. What would I rate it? I would rate it a medium, probably just a medium popcorn. I'd love to give it butter because of how fun it was and how much I was cackling. Because there are certain scenes where I was like, I had to hold on to myself. And there's a lot of scenes that I smiled a lot too. I might give it a medium with butter. I won't watch it again, and I don't recommend it. So, what other films are comparable to Beetlejuice? Well, Beetlejuice is a horror comedy. And in the race between what the topic would be tonight, between horror comedy and horror sequels, horror comedy won. So let's talk about the best horror comedies in cinematic history. We're going to start off with some honorable mentions, and then we'll get into like the best. I'll basically tell you which is the best and where to watch them. So, Fright Night, the remake, in my opinion, is the best. Dan Sheehan says, Return of the Walking Dead, greatest movie ever made, in my opinion. I've never seen Return of the Walking Dead. I think you mean Return of the Living Dead, the part of the Living Dead series that was done by, I just did research on this. I know what you're talking about, and I think you can watch it on Prime right now. I'm actually watching the Living Deads right now. I'm on Dawn of the Dead right now, but we'll talk about that some other time. Return of the Living Dead is not on this list only because I haven't had a chance to rewatch it yet, but I did enjoy it a lot. So for my list, I rewatched the old Fright Night with Roxy, and I dug it, but I loved this movie way more. When I saw the Fright Night from 2011 starring Anton Yelchin, R.I.P., Colin Farrell, Christopher McKellen, and David Tennant. No worries, Dan. I figured I picked up what you were putting down. When I saw this new one and I told people, dude, I love this new Fright Night, people were like, you should see the original. That was the best, because they were mostly older people. That movie's okay. This movie's way better in my opinion. If you don't know what this is, Fright Night is about a new neighbor who moves in next to Charlie, who discovers that he is an ancient vampire who preys on the community. This is fun. David Tennant's awesome. And it's Anton Yelchin, guys. Colin Farrell plays a really good villain all the time, but he plays a very good vampire as well. You can check this out by renting it. The Voices, which you can check out on Prime, stars Ryan Reynolds as a likable guy, big surprise, who pursues his office crush with help from his evil talking pets. But things turn sinister when she stands him up for a date. This co-stars Anna Kendrick and Gemma Arterton. I can't pronounce her name. Very dark comedy, but very well made. You can check this out on Prime right now. The Mummies. Need I say more? I didn't really think of these as horror comedies, but they are. It's the fucking Mummy. That's scary. And the first one is kind of scary. The second one is more of a family adventure film, but still very, very good. You can check out The Mummy on Peacock. I'm not sure about the second one. Probably on Peacock as well. I haven't seen this movie in a very long time. I remember being very, very grossed out. This is done by Peter Jackson, which Peter Jackson has another one on here that we'll go over in a second. But Brain Dead, or Dead Alive, It's got two different titles. I think it's more known as Dead Alive. It's about a young man's mother who's bitten by a Sumatran rat monkey. She gets sick and dies, at which time she comes back to life, killing and eating dogs, nurses, friends, and neighbors. I don't remember this movie, but I remember that it was very, very disgusting. It was funny, but it was a little too disgusting for me. So if you're looking for something wild as fuck, check out Brain Dead or Dead Alive by renting it right now. Gremlins, need I say more? It's Gremlins. Super fun film. I liked both of them. I liked two. I don't care. Even though it was very aimed for the kiddos, I thought it was super fun. You can rent this right now. Jennifer's Body, I don't remember very well, but I remember it being very good. These are honorable mentions, so fuck off. Newly possessed high school cheerleader turns into a succubus who specializes in killing her male classmates. Can her best friend put an end to the horror? Starring Megan Fox and Amanda Seyfried. Hey, it was good. I remember being like, this movie's going to suck. I think Megan Fox is just some hot girl. I don't think she's a good actress. I was pretty judgmental, but I was wrong. I thought she did comedy very well in this. Written by Diablo Cody, who did Juno and Young Adult and some other stuff. You can check this out on Hulu and Tubi. American Psycho. Kind of hard to call this a comedy, but it is a very funny movie when you watch it. And it's fucking wild. It's more dark than funny. But a wealthy New York City investment banker, Patrick Bateman, hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his coworkers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent, hedonistic fantasies. If you've never seen American Psycho, it's one of the best horror films ever. I don't know. It's hard to call it a horror film, but it is horror. It's just a weirder type of horror, but you can check it out on Netflix right now. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Very, I want to say underrated, but anyone who's seen this movie loves it to death. They could have made a sequel or just something. I don't know, something with this team again, but it's about two scruffy pals played by Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk. Two scruffy pals. Backwoods vacation takes a bloody turn when ignorant college students mistake them for a pair of murderous hillbillies. It is a very good comedy of like, wait, no, you got it all wrong. And then more bad things happen. Sincerely, very well-made film. You can check this out on Prime or Tubi. Happy Death Day. I've talked about this these movies a few times. Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. You can check out on Peacock. A college student must relive the day of her murder over and over again in a loop that will end only when she discovers her killer's identity. So it's a fun comedy with that Groundhog Day mix and the mystery of who killed her. Very cool. Very, very cool. The second one gets a little more sci-fi, but it's still enjoyable. The director does want to make a 3, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Watch the first one in the very least. 2 is still fun. This is one of the best ones. I don't know why I have it so low right now, but one of my favorite horror comedies, one of the best horror comedies ever made is The Frighteners, also done by Peter Jackson pre-Lord of the Rings. After a tragic car accident that kills his wife, a man, played by Michael J. Fox, discovers he can communicate with the dead, and he uses that gift to con people. You can check this out on Tubi and Peacock. Definitely check it out. One of the top horror comedies ever made, full show. Very well made. Kind of scary a lot of times, very serious some others, but overall I'd call it a horror comedy that you can check it on Tubi and Peacock right now. Planet Terror, part of the Grindhouse films, directed by Robert Rodriguez, set in Texas. The film follows the survivors of a biochemical outbreak as they battle zombie-like creatures and a rogue military unit. You can rent this right now. I prefer Death Proof. I just don't think Death Proof is a horror film. That's more of a suspense, which falls into the guise of horror if you really think about it. But I'd call this horror, and it's ridiculous, but it's fun. It's got a really good cast. Rose McGowan, Josh Brolin, Marley Shelton. Check it out. Next, speaking of which, so Grindhouse was a movie that paid homage to old Grindhouse films back in the day, which were highly sexualized, highly violent, done cheap, but overall fun. And in between the movies and before the movies were fake trailers that were brought in by directors Edgar Wright, Rob Zombie. Machete and Machete Kills were actually originally fake trailers that Robert Rodriguez decided to make into actual motion pictures. But Thanksgiving, which was directed by Eli Roth, he decided to make a real movie of, and he wants to make 2 more of these. I love these movies, or I'm sorry, I love this movie, and I'd be down for others. You can check it out on Netflix right now. After a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, which, by the way, the Black Friday riot is nuts. A mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the infamous holiday. Check this out on Netflix if you want to watch something wild that turns into like kind of like Eli Roth, like, oh, this is getting into like real horror shit, and then back to fun again. Very good, very well made. A lot better than I thought it was going to be. Check it out on Netflix. From Dusk Till Dawn, a classic, one of the best. It's hard to call it a horror comedy, but it is definitely a comedy. Written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Rodriguez. 2 criminals and their hostages unknowingly seek temporary refuge in a truck stop populated by vampires with chaotic results. I never watched the other From Dusk Till Dawn. I tried several times. I couldn't get through the second one, but I am interested in watching the film franchise. Robert Rodriguez made a television adaptation, or like basically a retelling of the Gecko Brothers. I'm interested in it, but I hear not great things. I watched the first couple episodes. I wasn't really into it, but you can check out the movie on Prime right now. Mars Attacks, excellent alien invasion comedy. So silly, so fun. Check this out by renting it. This is done by Tim Burton. Super fun. Great cast. Danny DeVito, Pierce Brosnan, Jack Nicholson, Marissa Tomei, I want to say. And that rhymes, so you know it's true today. Young Frankenstein, definitely one of the top ones. Too far down the list. You can rent this right now. It's a Mel Brooks classic, the best Mel Brooks film in my opinion. Basically, it's a funny Frankenstein film. That's all I'm going to say. You have to watch it. It's so good. Little shop of horrors, little shop of terrors. Tony don't like musicals, but he likes this a lot. Yes, he does. If you haven't seen it, great musical. If you like musicals, check this out. I loved it. Directed by Frank Oz, you know, the guy who took over the Muppets after Jim Henson passed. Great director. He did the Stepford Wives remake, and that was pretty good too. I think he's a pretty good director. He did something else that was really good, but you can rent Little Shop of Horrors right now. You can also check out Cabin in the Woods on Peacock. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, except I used to, and I'll still say it now. I'm not saying it's the best horror film ever made, but it is the mother of all horror films. That's what I'll say without giving it away. And every time I told someone that before they saw it, after they watched it, they came up to me and they said, that was a great way to describe the film. Super fun. Watch Evil Dead and watch this like last. Watch a bunch of horror movies first, like a bunch of different ones. Then watch this. Super good. Stars a pre-Thor, Chris Hemsworth. That's not Cabin in the Woods. That's not. Here we go. Wait a minute. Okay. Any Jordan Peele film. He made 3 of them. Get Out, excellent. Us, very fun. Nope is probably my second favorite of the 3. You can check them all out. Okay, Get Out is on Peacock. Us is on Hulu and Peacock. And Nope, you have to rent. Watch them in order. Get Out, Us, and Nope. I think Nope is very underrated. Us, I didn't like... time to start going faster. Okay, so what we'll do... in 10 minutes... There we go. All right, so Get Out is definitely like one of the best, one of the most original type of horror movies ever. It's hard to call it horror, though. I'd call it more suspense. Us is, I'd say, more horror. I think it's scarier. I mean, Get Out's kind of scary if you think about it, too. Nope is horrific. Specifically, one scene of a ship over a house with rain. It's a wild visual, and it's one of my favorite visuals in cinema, 1,000%. So again, Get Out and Us are on Peacock. Us is also on Hulu, and you can check out Nope by renting it. The Witches of Eastwick. Excellent witch film if you haven't seen it. 3 single women in a picturesque village have their wishes granted at a cost when a mysterious and flamboyant man arrives in their lives. And when you find out who Jack Nicholson is, it's wild. You got really hot versions of Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Cher. Never been a Cher guy, but she's pretty hot in this too. She's actually a pretty good actress, honestly. But no, very good film, directed by George Miller, who did the Mad Maxes. It's weird that he did this movie, but it's so epic. It's an epic comedy. It's wild as shit. Check it out on Tubi. Cocaine. Whoops. What the fuck's going on? Cocaine Bear, directed by Elizabeth Banks. She should do more horror, and I'm going to call this movie a horror. Definitely a comedy, but there are some scenes that are like, oh my God, that are just nuts. It's not one of my favorite movies, and it has its moments that are better than others, but you can tell that they tried making it as long as possible with these storylines that you kind of don't care about. But overall, it's still worth watching. I'm not going to go over what the plot is. Cocaine Bear. Check it out. One day movie, too. Bride and Seeds of Chucky's. You can check out both on Netflix right now. If you don't know what these are, you need to watch Child's Play 1, 2, and 3 first. Then watch Bride of Chucky. Then watch Seed of Chucky. Bride of Chucky is probably my favorite of all the Chuckies, to be honest. Evil Dead 2, one of the best films ever made in general that you should watch on Plex. Evil Dead 1 is more of a horror. There's not really comedy in it. Evil Dead 2 is a horror, but it's also comedic. And Army of Darkness is a horror comedy. Not very scary, but super fun. You can check out Army of Darkness on Prime. Just make sure you watch. You don't need to watch Evil Dead 1 first out of all of these, but you should, but I don't recommend it. I recommend watching Evil Dead 2, which you can watch on Plex, and then Army of Darkness, which you can watch on Prime. So everyone loves this movie. The only reason I have a gripe against it is because people said it was better than Shaun of the Dead. They're wrong, but it is a very well-made film. No, not that well-made. It's all right. It's a fun movie. If you're looking for a fun zombie apocalypse film, look no further than Zombieland, which you can watch on Netflix. I saw 2. 2 wasn't bad, but it was like, why are we doing this? And isn't it too late? Kind of like Beetlejuice. The Blackening. Fun film that pokes fun at movie tropes, specifically in horror revolving around black characters in horror films. It's just, I wish more people died in the film. I know I say that a lot, but we're talking horror. Give us the horror. Either way, it's still fun, and it's funnier than I thought it was going to be. It's about 7 friends go away for the weekend and end up trapped in a cabin with a killer who has a vendetta. Will their street smarts and knowledge of horror movies help them stay alive? Probably not. And they do a lot of horror trivia when they're playing the Blackening game. I did okay. You can check this out on Stars right now. An American Werewolf in London. Now we're getting into my favorites. There's only 5 left. An American Werewolf in London is about American college students David Kessler and Jack Goodman on a walking tour of Britain and are attacked by a werewolf that none of the locals will admit exists. You can check this out on Prime. It's one of the, I remember it, a lot of people say it's one of the best horror films ever. When I was a kid, I did love it a lot. I just don't know how I'll feel about it now. I am going to be watching this sometime before Halloween. I'm excited and I will report back. However, everyone should see this. It is a classic film written and directed by John Landis. You can check this out on Prime. It is funny, but I do remember it being horrific. And I think it's got the most fucked up turning into the werewolf scenes I've ever seen. Another disgusting horror film written and directed by James Gunn is Slither, which is about a small town that's taken over by an alien plague, turning residents into zombies and all forms of Mutant Monsters. You can check us out on Peacock and Tubi. It's fun, but it's gross. Check it out. All right. Number 3. What We Do in the Shadows. Not the TV show. The TV show's good. I don't watch it anymore. I kind of fell off. The earlier seasons were better than the new seasons. But the movie, Chef's Kiss. One of the best horror movies you'll ever see. Probably my favorite mockumentary ever, to be honest. But it's about a documentary crew that follow some vampires, which is written by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement, directed by Taika Waititi, and starring Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement. If you haven't seen this, rent it right now. It is so fucking funny. It is so good. Has some oh shit scenes, and it's very impressive. After which, check out the television series on Hulu. Number 2. The Scary Movies 1 and 2, of course. You're not going to like my number 1, but this should be basically number 1. Although, when I say horror comedies, I want it to be more of a centralized horror comedy, meaning not spoofing other things, but this is a spoof. If you haven't seen them before, where the fuck have you been? If you are interested in rewatching them, I recommend rewatching. If you're rewatching the first one, rewatch Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer. What else? Scream 2. You really need to rewatch those. And other horror movies, those teen slashers. And if you're watching Scary Movie 2, which is more ghost-based, that's what I liked about these movies. The first are more geared towards slashers, and the second one is more geared towards ghosts, like The Exorcist, Poltergeist, etc. You can check these both out on Pluto or Paramount Plus. And my number 1 horror movie, Shaun of the Dead. You know it. You gotta love it. You gotta know that it's in theaters right now until Wednesday, actually. I'm going to try to catch a show maybe Wednesday, but it's in Dolby. I never watched this movie in theaters. One of my favorite movies of all time. It is kind of a parody of Night of the Living Dead. However, it's so good of a story on its own, and it's some of the best filmmaking. It's one of my favorite films. It's sincerely top 3 favorite films. I love this movie so much. It's made so well. Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, great team. First of the Cornetto trilogy. Check this out right now in theaters right now. Did I say right now? I think I said right now. All right, let's get into some news. Let's go into the more depressing side first. Time to remember James Earl Jones. Reported just hours ago, James Earl Jones sadly passed away at the tender age of 93. He is an EGOT member. He's won an Emmy, a Golden Globe, an Oscar, and a Tony. Even though it was an honorary Oscar, he was nominated for The Great White Hope, which was made in 1970, but lost to George C. Scott for Patton. If you haven't seen The Great White Hope, which I haven't, I added it to the list after doing some research today. It's about a black champion boxer and his white female companion who struggle to survive while the white boxing establishment looks for ways to knock him down. You can rent this right now. If you are not familiar with James Earl Jones, you actually are. He's Mufasa in Lion King. He's Darth Vader in everything. Not anymore, though, sadly. They're probably going to fuck with this. Because Star Wars nowadays, they just keep bringing back Vader. They're going to keep doing it. Anyways, he's Darth Vader. He was also in Coming to America, Lion King, and any Star Wars products you can check out on Disney+. Coming to America, the first one, don't bother with the second. You can check out on Pluto. He was Mr. Myrtle in Sandlot. That's the movie I always think about with him when I think of him visually, is him in Sandlot, which you can check out on Disney+. Field of Dreams, you can check it out on Netflix. And a very young James Earl Jones in Doctor Strangelove. Very small role, but still worth noting. You can check that out on Prime. That is another one of my favorite movies. Lighter news. The Penguin is a good bridge to... All right, cool. We will be done in 10 more minutes. The Penguin is the miniseries that's coming out not next week, but I think the week after. This is an entry point to the Batman sequel and is absolutely connected to where we leave things in the series. I just wanted to mention that. That's what written by Matt Reeves. Incoming. I talked about, check out my review, which was done a few weeks ago on this excellent teen comedy that you can watch on Netflix right now. Just wanted to note that it's racking up to 16.9 million views, which is 71% higher than its debut weekend, which it makes it the most watched title of the week. So good shit incoming. I'm excited for the Sherman brothers to do more comedies. Very, very happy for them. By the way, worth noting, all of my news sources comes from Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and Deadline. So thank you, news sites. Alison Brie is casted as Evil-Lyn or Evil-Lyn. I never watched Masters of the Universe, but there's a Masters of the Universe film coming out, and it's live action, and Alison Brie is playing Evil-Lyn. Ian McKellen coming back for Gandalf? Question mark. Enthusiasm for this is what he told The Big Issue. Enthusiasm for the Lord of the Rings shows no sign of abating. I can't tell you any more than that. I've just been told that there are going to be more films and Gandalf will be involved, and that they hope I'll be playing him. When? I don't know. What the script is? It's not written yet, so they better be quick. The Hunt for Gollum comes to theaters 2026. George R.R. Martin threw some shade at the House of Dragon. I think I discussed a little bit about this last week. He went into a lot more detail, which I'm not going to go over right now. It sounds like a lot of small shit, which would spoil the rest of the series. But I just want to read you some quotes. No, I'm not going to read this. I'll read this part. He goes over all the differences between that the show made that changed from the book. But he said none of that is essential, I suppose, but all of it does serve a purpose. It all helps tie the storylines together. So one thing follows another in a logical and convincing manner. That's a considerable loss. And there are larger and more toxic butterflies to come if House of the Dragon goes ahead with some of the changes being contemplated for seasons 3 and 4. The showrunner basically says, like, hey, dude, I got to change things. I can't do everything by the book. It's very hard to run a TV show. And George R.R. Martin is very empathetic to that, which is good. He's just like, y'all are making too many changes to future seasons. So it wasn't the thing that I thought made last season so boring, but I thought it was interesting. Hey, you know Twilight? Oh, I didn't even put pictures of this. I didn't even put... What the fuck, Tony? I fucked up. I apologize. Well, Twilight is coming out with an animated series. It's going to be on Netflix. It's a retelling of Twilight from Edward Cullen's perspective. I don't care about this, but you might. And KeKe Palmer is going to star in the Burbs TV series. Remember the Burbs with Tom Hanks and Carrie Fisher? You can rent it right now if you haven't. Great horror movie. Comedy. That's a horror comedy. I forgot to put that up. I fucked up. Well, check it out. I love the Burbs. You can rent it right now. But they're doing a television series adaptation with KeKe Palmer. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right, here's what's coming out next week. Speak No Evil. Speak No Evil will be hitting theaters Thursday. Poppin' or not, I think it will be poppin'. I'm more interested to see the funness that director James Watkins is bringing to the table, because the original movie, which is a foreign film, I don't really recommend watching it. It's a pretty well-made film, but the end really pisses you off. I know they're going to change the ending for this film, especially because the director said it's more fun. But a family is invited to spend a weekend in an idyllic country house, unaware that their dream vacation will soon become a psychological nightmare. The stars James McAvoy, Say Less, Mackenzie Davis, and Scoot McNairy. This is in theaters Thursday. I think it'll be popping, and that's really it. I think it's going to be popping. I think it's going to be a large popcorn. I think it looks really good. I love James McAvoy. Killer's Game in theaters Thursday is about a veteran assassin played by Dave Bautista, who is diagnosed with a life-threatening illness and authorizes a kill on himself. After ordering the kill, an army of former colleagues pounce and a new piece of information comes to light. Insanity ensues. This co-stars Sophia Boutella, Palm Clementif. Say Less.
Ben Kingsley and Terry Crews. There's some other people in it too. This was directed by J.J. Perry, who did Day Shift. I liked Day Shift, so that makes me a little more interested in this film. Some of the trailer, I was down. I'm more excited for Palm and Sophia, but it kind of looks badass too. So this is in theaters Thursday. I think I'm gonna go see this. My Old Ass stars Aubrey Plaza. Well, co-stars Aubrey Plaza. A mushroom trip brings free-spirited Elliot face-to-face with her 39-year-old self. But when Elliot's old ass delivers warnings to her younger self, Elliot realizes she has to rethink everything about her family, life, and love. I was excited about this until I saw a trailer. And it looks a lot more YA. So it looks like it's not for me. That doesn't mean it looks bad. It just looks like it's not for me, sadly. But it looks well made. I think it's a really cool idea. But this is in theaters Thursday. I think it'll be popping for the youths. I don't think it'll be popping for myself. Kevin Smith's The 4:30 movie is about a group of teens in the 1980s who spend the day theater hopping. I'm very excited for this, but I won't be going out to see it because Kevin Smith has fallen off. This is a real good chance for him to bounce back. And I'm really glad that he's like, you know what? I'm not going to make a sequel. I'm going to make something original. Another coming-of-age film that definitely brings me in more than My Old Ass, but yeah, this is in theaters Thursday. The Critic. I don't know. It looks good to me. I don't think any of you are going to care, but it takes place in 1930s London. A powerful theater critic, threatened by the new owner of the newspaper where he works, enlists a young actress to help him prevent his boss from firing him. This looks good to me. It does. I don't know. Stars Ian McKellen, Mark Strong, Gemma Arterton, and Leslie Manville. Oh, it's co-written by Patrick Marber, who wrote Closer, one of my favorite films. That's probably why I want to check it out. This is in theaters Thursday. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, though. I don't think any of you would be down. Check out the trailer and then let me know. I didn't see a trailer for this, but if you are into the spooky season, which us here at PopCorn Spookin is, Connie Britton is out in a new movie, which I did not watch a trailer for, but I know it's horror. Claire is overjoyed when her daughter Robin is miraculously revived after a fatal accident, but her relief turns to dread as Claire notices changes in her daughter, suspecting something dark has followed her back from the brink of death. This is in theaters Thursday. Streaming-wise, we have The Uglies, which is on Netflix Friday. In a futuristic dystopia with enforced beauty standards, a teen awaiting mandatory cosmetic surgery embarks on a journey to find her missing friend. It stars Joey King and is directed by McG. He did the Charlie's Angels. He did other stuff. I was just shocked that he's coming out with another movie. Watching the trailer for this, it looked like, visually speaking, it looks dope. But storyline-wise, I think it sounds kind of dumb. But maybe I'll check it out. I don't know, though. I don't know. You can judge for yourself. It's YA for sure. Check it out. Netflix Friday. TV-wise, Tulsa King returns with Sylvester Stallone playing New York Mafia capo, who is released from prison after 25 years and is exiled by his boss to set up a shop in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Realizing that his mob family may not have his best interests in mind, Dwight slowly builds a crew. It's actually better than I thought it was going to be. You can check this whole first season out on Paramount Plus right now. New episodes start on Sunday. The Old Man, I didn't watch this, but I'm kind of interested in it, knowing that Aaliyah Shawkat joined, but it stars Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. You can check the new season out on Hulu Fridays. Old season out on Hulu, period. 3 Women, an intimate, moving, uplifting portrait of real women reclaiming their lives for themselves. Has a really good cast, that's why I mention it. Betty Gliplin, who I love. Shailene Woodley, who I like. DeWanda Weiss, who I love. And someone else I can't read. This is on Stars Fridays. I don't know if I'll watch this, but I think it looks like a good chick flick show that you might enjoy. Emily in Paris returns to Netflix on Thursday. I don't watch Emily in Paris, but I feel like I have a female audience that might want to know that Emily in Paris is returning to Netflix Thursday. Here's what I'm watching, and here's what we're reviewing. Speak No Evil in theaters Thursday. Killer's Game in theaters Thursday. I think I'm going to see that. Tulsa King, which is on Paramount Plus Sunday. And I'm going to check out The Old Man. I'm going to try the first couple episodes anyway. Thank you so much for watching. Boo! I scared you. You.